Hello everybody and thanks for joining me. Today I'm tying a lovely wet juicy looking bloodworm pattern using a product from Veniard called Magic Glass V-Rib. The hook I'm using is an anodised red grayling hook from Charles Jardine's company. This is quite important as it'll show through that V-Rib. The thread I'm using is UTC 70 in red, and here's that material, the V-Rib. It's a nice thin plastic ribbon. It's got a little bit of a D-shaped profile and a nice bit of stretch to it. Comes in about every colour under the sun. This is clear. For the breathers I'm using a little bit of glow bright yarn. You can also use polypropylene or marabou. And finally for the thorax I'm going to use a small pinch of fiery brown seal's fur. Now this is a dead easy pattern to tie, so let's get started. I'm tying in my thread just behind the hook eye, making several turns backwards to secure and trimming away the excess with my scissors. And this is actually as far back as we're ever going to take the thread during this tie. Here I've got my V-rib and I'm tying this in slightly on my side of the hook and using the thread tension to pull it on top. I'm being quite firm here. Because this V-rib's got some stretch, I'm going to exploit that, and I'm going to be putting quite a bit of tension on as we start wrapping backwards. I'm using the rotary function on my vise here and just being careful to avoid the hook point. I'm going to take this most of the way down the length of the body, certainly going around the hook bend, and this is going to give a nice natural curve to the shape of this pupa. Now bloodworms and chironomid midges like this one, they've got a bit of translucency to them, and certainly with bloodworms you can see that red blood line down the inside. And I think that this, with that shiny anodised hook in the middle, and using that V-rib just to amplify and refract the light over the top of it, gives a really nice natural representation. I'm putting a little less tension on as we come back forwards, having reverse direction, and this is allowing it to spring out into its natural D shape, and this gives a bit of a segmented effect to the fly as well. I'm happy with the body, so I'm going to make several crisscross wraps to secure everything down, again being quite firm and using the material to squash down under the thread. That's my third cross wrap, so I'm happy with that. I'm going to stretch it out and trim off the excess. You can see that's got a nice bit of shine, a nice bit of definition to the ribbing, makes a really nice pattern. I'm taking the thread forwards, and now I'm going to tie in the breathers. These are optional, but I do think it adds a bit of something to the fly. And you can see I brought that up underneath the thread using the tension from the bobbin to hold it down and positioned them on top. A few tight turns to secure, trim away the excess, and that's the breathers tied in. I like to fish this as the bottom dropper on a 2-fly pair with an Apps bloodworm on top. The Apps has got a little bit of jiggliness from those rubber legs, and this has got a bit of weight to hold everything down in the water column. It can be an absolute killer pattern during the winter, especially on reservoirs. Here I've taken a pinch of that fiery brown seal's fur and made a very loose dubbing rope. I want this to be quite a bushy, buggy thorax. I've wrapped that on and now making a few tight turns underneath the breathers to prop them up. And that's the whole fly finished. We can come in with the whip finisher, make 4 or 5 turn whip finish to secure everything down. Now I'm trimming away the excess thread and then cutting the breathers to length. A little bit of tidying and brushing out of the seal's fur, and here's the finished fly. Do give this one a go if you can get hold of the right colour hooks. It's a very versatile technique. You can lay things underneath this like opal tinsel, so have a little play. Hope you've enjoyed this one, and I'll catch you next time.